Hello, how are you? Ew, that's creepy. Only creepy because we're staring into each other's eyes like 10 inches away from each other's face. I didn't brush my teeth. How does my breath smell?
Smells like coffee and morning breath.
Ew. Yeah, it probably does. Oh well. So, welcome everybody. I hope you're having a good week. We have a special show for you today. It's one where I talk the entire time and Carl doesn't say a word. He's just silently nodding in agreement at me from in front of my face.
So this week we've switched some things up. We've had busy schedules and working ourselves crazy. So instead of continuing where we left off in Ireland and finishing the last half, we've decided to go along with this questionnaire sort of list that we've made for each other a while back.
We wanted you to get to know us a little bit better, because we feel like we've been just telling you stories about our travels, which gives you a little bit of an idea of who we are, but we wanted you to get to know us a little bit better with some like background questions and maybe how we got into traveling.
Right.
Yeah. So that's what we're doing today.
Just a deeper sense of who we are as a person and
yeah, who we are as a couple or a couple of beans.
Yeah.
You know.
Hi guys, welcome to the Beanstalk Podcast, where we talk about everything travel.
Sharing first-hand travel advice and getting to the bottom of real-life experiences in the hopes to inspire you to get out there yourself.
So I'll just jump right in and ask question number one. Should we
Ask
just
away.
go back and forth? Or how's
Yeah,
it?
sure.
All right.
Yeah, go with your first.
So, question one. What is the biggest factor, impact, or inspiration that's gotten you into traveling?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think probably we're going to go way back into my childhood, because I feel like the thing that factored into piquing my interest in travel was a couple of trips that my parents took me on when we were younger. And one was they took us down to Mexico. And so we went to Sonora Bay, which was pretty cool. It was kind of like an all-inclusive Club Med resort, so I would say that feel kind of wasn't necessarily travel-y. Even
more touristy travel.
Oh, yeah, definitely. More like catered to, oh, do you want a pina colada? Oh, yes. And you're like laying on the beach and soaking up sun, which I'm not complaining about, and I thought it was amazing. But I remember that there was one day, oh, hello, Sophie. There was one day trip that we took to one of the like villages there in the markets that was outside of the Club Med resort. And I remember going into each little different stall and looking at the, unique bits of art and the like wood carvings, and just it took me out of the feel of seclusion and brought me into what I felt like was more of the culture. And to me, that was very eye-opening, that I am, that there's just another world out there, that there is so much more to this world than what we're shown or taught in schools or on television or anything like that. And so I think that piqued my interest. And when I did get back into, when we traveled back home and I was at school, I would always, peek into the National Geographic magazines in the library anytime I could. Anything that was on TV that had to do with travel, I was all about it. I would sit there and watch like hours of the Travel Channel and just nerd out. and just fantasize about traveling to all these different countries and seeing different cultures that were just fascinating to me. So I think that, yeah, it stemmed from a pretty young age, that I just
So how old were you?
I want to say I was probably in so when we went down to Mexico, I think I was in 4th or 5th grade. So I would have been 10, I think. And then we did a little bit of traveling through the States, like camping, and that was something that, it connected me to nature and had a big impact on, I think who I am as a person now, because the outdoors are my church. So I think that that had a big impact, and just getting around and seeing other places. The adventure of it was very appealing and just exciting, and I felt, more alive, I think, than I did just, going to school or at home or, playing video games. I just, felt the connection with it pretty young. So that was something that impacted me big time.
Cool.
Yeah, that was a good question. I think I didn't even look at what my answer was. I just kind of riffed it. All right, so your first question. I would like you to introduce yourself with your name, your age, where you were born, and where you grew up. And then a little bit about where you currently reside.
That's it's a fistful.
I know, but,
Well, as most of you know, my name's Carl. I am 35, on the cusp of 36, but it's just a number.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I was born in San Jose, California. I would not so much call it my hometown, because I don't associate that with, my home. I left when I was 6, and we moved to Northern California, where it was Redding, and I spent a lot of time in and around and about that whole area, whether it was around Humboldt or basically just the whole Redding area. That would be more so, my stomping grounds.
Where you were raised.
Yeah, where I would consider. I don't know, though. Where I reside now is in the Boise area in Idaho, and it's definitely grown on me, and it has, over time, become more of a homey feel to it. Mm-hmm. With the people I've met and friends made, and so it's kind of like a home away from home, in a sense. I don't know.
Yeah, totally. Question number 2.
Number 2, tell me about your worst or most nightmarish, but not necessarily regrettable, travel experience. So it could be bad, but it doesn't necessarily have to be I wish that didn't happen. Because a lot of the times, if you go through something hard or shitty or hellish, you'd grow a lot from it.
Totally.
So either way, which one would you want to share?
So one of my most nightmarish, kind of?
Yeah, just one of the worst.
Yeah.
I've
got a handful of them.
I know you do.
So I just read my answer, and one was the night in Bordeaux that we had talked about, which was a little creepy, but I do not feel that was super nightmarish. I guess it was just stressful, but I did learn a lot from it, and going with your gut was a major thing for me, having learned that, or going through that experience, what I learned. There's also one about a monkey that had not pickpocketed, but assaulted. Not really assaulted.
No.
What am I looking for? What's the word? Mugged? We got mugged?
Robbery.
So an attempted robbery by a monkey in Thailand. There was also
But I feel like that's going to come up later.
It will. Too. Well, all of these are going to come up later. Yeah, that's why I'm true. I kind of read my answers, and so there was that one. I got assaulted by a woman in Sydney, Australia. Accosted. Spit at several times. I got pickpocketed in Cambodia, which wasn't fun.
You got drugged in Germany.
I got roofied in Cologne, which was not a pleasant experience, waking up in a hospital bed. And then I nearly escaped what could have been a very probably not so good of a situation during Oktoberfest in Germany, when I was kind of like coming to from a blackout. And then, I've seen a couple people, or just accidentally come upon two dudes masturbating at two different experiences, which was not pleasant to the eye at all, and slightly unnerving. But yeah, I would say that probably out of those handful of not so fun experiences, I would say that the one that was the worst would probably have been the getting roofied in Cologne, Germany. That was not so fun.
Yeah.
So, I did not enjoy that. I had probably the worst hangover in my life. If you could call it that, I don't know. Or just recuperating from
Body recovery.
being drugged. Yeah, so that was not so fun. We were staying in an Airbnb, and these guys who owned it were nice enough to take us out that night. And, I was just in the moment and having fun, and they took us to a pub that had a little foosball table, and I think that I had set my drink down and just not thought about it. And then apparently the rest of it I do not recollect, but was told kind of what happened, and I ended up kind of just causing a scene out front, and what I had to be taken away with a ambulance. Actually, they kind of strapped me to a gurney and took me away, and so I had to kind of find my way after having come to in it was more of like a hospital chair. It was not fun. It felt like straight out of a scene of like the Hostel, like the bad room, because it was very cold and like fluorescent lights and sterile, but like felt grimy, dirty, because I'm sure I vomited a couple times and had to kind of clean myself up. The guy was not nice to me, because he was just like, "You fucking drunk, get out of here," and
Another
I was like,
drunk tourist.
Right? And so I was just like, "No, I swear." And then with what little battery I had left on my iPod, I had to Google Map my way back to the Airbnb, which I think I just basically jumped on a couple trains, didn't pay because I had no cash, and just like hoped for the best, and finally made it home, and then spent the next like 2 days in recovery of just like not...
Just bedridden.
Yeah, I could not do anything. But yeah, that was my most horrifying experience, I think.
Well done.
Yeah,
well done.
Well done me. Alcohol, my constant battle that I'm winning at the moment. Yeah. All right, so question numero dos for you. What are your interests, or what brings you the most joy or pleasure in your life at this moment in time?
It's basically three big ones. The obvious one would be travel, which is why we're talking about it and have a podcast, and have plans of doing it, and I've had a history of doing it.
You mean you like to travel places? That's crazy.
Yeah. The second one would be art. In many different forms, whether it's paints or aerosol or graffiti, pencil, photography, tattoos, just many forms, whatever is basically aesthetically pleasing. And I remember, us doing a lot of museums, where exhibits, and I'm just into all sorts of different forms of art.
I just want to stop you there and mention that if you hear a big, loud sound in the background, it's because there's some perpetual? Is that a word? Yes,
it is.
Perpetual. Yeah.
Whether it's appropriate in this sentence, I don't know.
Fuck you. There's a perpetual garbage truck, right? That's circling the block. Or no, there's a garbage truck that's perpetually circling the block. You shut up. But yeah, so there's a loud garbage trucky sound that's going to be in the background if you hear it. Sorry. Keep going though. Art and colorful.
Art, yeah.
And colors.
Travel, art, and then the third one would be music. I've always just found it as like a stress reliever. If I've had a bad day, I usually get home and just relax with some tunes, and it definitely calms me and zens me out, in which I am into all different genres. It's not like, I've met people that just like one or two, but I like everything.
What are some of your favorites?
Favorites would be Ween, definitely number one. I think because they play all sorts of different music, and they're just weird and quirky, and they're just my style. They're just goofballs, but they're really talented.
Super talented.
And they're just a lot of fun.
We're slightly obsessed with Ween.
Yep.
That would be maybe the one tattoo of a band that I would get. And same with you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say so. Where or what, I don't know, but...
Yeah. One day.
But yeah, another one I'd want to add would just be getting outside and connecting with nature. That's just where I come alive and where I find peace within myself. Just getting out in like a forest, doing like an all-day hike along a river with fresh air and exercise. It's definitely my favorite. Nice. I could do that for a long time.
I think that's one that we share.
For sure, which is
very important.
A good relationship factor.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know what we would do if one of us didn't like doing that. That's awesome. Good answers.
Yeah. So, if you could hop on a plane right now, where would you go and why? Whether you've been there previously or not.
So if I could hop on a plane right now and go anywhere in the world, I would choose India, Nepal, and Sri Lanka. And I would hit them all in one go.
Yeah.
And I would be on a motorcycle.
Motorbiking?
Yes. I would motorbike from probably Nepal down to the tip of India. Nepal? Yeah. And then I'd hit Sri Lanka on the way back. I might probably, I don't know. I don't know how big Sri Lanka is, but...
I think it's pretty small, but I mean, would you take your bike there? Because you definitely have to, like, fly or take a ferry.
Yeah, I'd probably take a ferry over.
Yeah, and bring the bike?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what I would do.
India's biker friendly.
Oh, yeah. India's been calling my name for a little while now, and that's one of the places that we weren't able to go to on the last trip we took, so... just from what I've heard and the experience of it all is just like traveling to a whole new level. And that's just from whatever it is, it's just calling my name. So I want to get out to India.
Yeah. Big on my list too.
Cool. But that's where I'd go.
Yeah.
All right. So when did you first catch the travel bug? I guess this is kind of like your first question you asked me.
Kinda. I think I've always had it. It's just been dormant. I've heard stories from my parents or seen photos or heard stories about their parents, specifically my mom's dad. And it's always just been fascinating. And, both of them hearing stories from their parents, it's almost like this... it's been like an ancestral thing.
Oh, totally.
That's been just passed down.
It's in your blood.
It is, yeah. And I just feel like, with them growing up hearing stories about it, and they've done quite a bit of traveling, it's just been passed on to me that I've just had this interest too, and I've also found it fascinating.
Where do your parents come from?
So my mom, born and raised in Sydney.
Is that Australia?
It is.
Oh, yeah, it's not like Sydney, Oklahoma or something?
Is there a Sydney?
I have no idea. There's usually, rip-off places
like
over here in the States. Paris, Texas, and all that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
just
Sydney,
clarifying.
Australia. And then my dad was born in western Germany, just a small village outside of Cologne a bit, or Dortmund.
So you're first generation American?
First generation American, yeah. So I think that also has a lot to do with it. I hear stories about, other family abroad and lifestyles abroad and them traveling with their families from other countries and continents.
And how old were you when you first went to Australia?
I was 2.
Okay.
So I don't remember
that
one. But the first memorable experience, I was in 6th grade.
6th. Okay.
Yeah,
so you would have been like 12
like 12. And so it's kind of been part of my life as long as I could remember, whether we were actively doing it as a family, or whether, just hearing stories or looking at photos, going over old video footage. Yeah, it's just ingrained in my DNA. But it really was awakened and, I guess,
brought to light
was in 2012 when we took our trip to Australia and New Zealand. We did 3 weeks in Australia, and then we did a week in New Zealand in one go. Mm-hmm. And that's really what I think, just because as a kid, it's just like, oh, this is what we're doing as a family. Mm-hmm. But when you do a trip for yourself, it's like you plan it out, you save for it, you plan it out, it's like it's all in your hands. Mm-hmm. And, you're doing what you want, going where you want to go, seeing what you want to see. And that was our first big trip versus, we've done a lot of road trips all over the western U.S. But that one really awakened the travel bug and brought it to life, yeah.
That's awesome. And you?
Yes, my turn. So what aspect of travel is your favorite or most enjoyable? Whether it's about the history, the food, the sightseeing, what specifically is the most enjoyable?
For me, I feel like it is almost, it's all of the above, kind of. It's the total immersion into a culture that is unfamiliar. And it's the kind of the adventure aspect or the exploration. You feel like you're doing something new. You're seeing something different. You're like constantly in this state of almost like childlike wonderment. So mm-hmm. you're constantly learning. It almost feels like you're
soaking it up through all the senses.
Yeah, it's like your brain is a sponge for all these different experiences, and you're, just adapting to every situation that you're thrown into. And it's new, it's exciting, it's just completely different, it tests you to your core of what you're capable of accepting or how you can adapt. It's like a test. To me, it's a true test of what you're able to take from any given situation. Yeah, so it's like that, but then it's also just the experiencing new places.
So it's just learning about new cultures.
Yeah, it's just total, experiential. That's what I take from traveling, is that I might not know your history completely. I might not thoroughly understand what you're telling me because you're speaking in a different language. Mm-hmm. But if I'm thrown into a new situation and a new culture, I feed on that sort of just learning what's going on and what's around me and how you can adapt to it.
Yeah. Because
it's like a testament to just how flexible us as humans can be, because a lot of what our society right now tells us is that we have to be in these little boxes and we have to do this certain thing or we have to be this certain way. And for me, traveling is the ultimate, fuck you to that, because it's like, I don't have to be opposite, shit. Yeah, it's the complete opposite, and you just go out there.
Like the ultimate freedom.
Totally. It's you're walking, 40-day pilgrimage, or you're hucked into a crazy world market in Asia, or, you're great white shark cage diving. It's just like there are all these situations where it's like, I may have never had this chance if I were to have adopted that mindset of, nope, what I have to do after high school is go to college, and I have to get my degree in something, and then find my career, and then get married and have children and buy a house. And so it's like, I can't. It's like
your whole life set up for you, and this is what you're supposed to do, right? And then you die, and
then it's like, what did I do? And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that, because people can be completely happy in that way, but it's like, I don't want somebody else telling me what I can do with my life. And traveling, to me...
Especially when it's all laid out for you.
Exactly.
It's like your entire life, this is what you're doing.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay.
Well, no, yeah. I think I rejected that early on, and I was like, I do not feel like that's right for me. I can't do this, and it would make me miserable if I just followed that blueprint. And so, for me, traveling it's freedom. It's getting out there and doing what I want to do and experiencing what I want to experience and seeing this gorgeous planet and all its culture and beauty and the people and connecting and all that. So traveling just, it's my happy place.
So basically just immersing yourself into different cultures
totally.
is the best part.
Yeah, it's just the full immersion into another culture and the adapting to situations.
Mm-hmm. I'd have to say the same.
Cool.
I mean, doing the food part is huge because I mean you got to eat multiple times a day anyway, and
there's such
it's always
good
fun
meals.
to experience that. And
yeah, love it.
And such good food in certain different places.
I'm
If you're
pull it
going to
home
like the Mecca of like Italy or Southeast Asia,
oh my god, Thailand, Thai food, Indian food,
Vietnamese food.
Yes.
But yeah, like I'm a big history buff too, so a lot of that stems deep within myself too. But
well, yeah, because a culture is its history,
right?
In a sense. So when you get to a place, you're like, why?
But there's just infinite learning about.
Oh, there is. It's like you can't comprehend. I mean, unless you're a fucking major history buff and you want to be like, that's all I want to find out about this place.
But there's so many places too. That's completely. What I mean. It's just you're never gonna learn it all.
No, and so that's where it's like, it is nice to have that history because when you get to a place like, for instance, Cambodia, and it's like fucking heavy, and you can just feel the weight of this.
Yeah, knowing like roughly what had happened versus just going in blind and.
Of course, and then when you go into certain places and you find out more about that history, then it like ties it brings it all full circle, and you're like, wow, okay, I know.
Yeah, all the pieces.
I now understand why this place is the way it is right now, or why it feels this way.
Right.
So yeah, it's I love all of it really. Like I like what I said at the beginning. It was just like all of the above of what you said, like history, food. The experience, the immersion, the, sight, sounds, feels, all that. It's just everything. I can't really fully pick one in particular. It's all of it. I love travel. I'm so excited. It's just getting me more and more excited. Okay, so, hey, this question is kind of like the one I just asked you. I don't know why.
Is it?
Yeah.
What is it?
But I'll ask you, because I'm sure it might bring out some different stuff. So when did you first realize that you wanted to travel the world and that it was entirely possible? I guess it's a little different.
Yeah, it's kind of the same answer, too. Yeah, it's definitely the 2012 Australia-New Zealand trip. And I think once we had done that, because I'd always wanted to travel too, I'd always wanted to see the world. And I didn't know if or how or if that was even possible or if I was ever going to do that. It's just been like a dream. And there's just been so many places that I've wanted to see. And I didn't know how that was possible. So I think after that 2012 trip to, Australia, New Zealand, or Oz and NZ, that was like, okay, I really want to do this, but on a bigger scale.
Yeah.
And it just like fueled or fired up this demon of like, okay, what? No, let's seriously do this. Are you down? Because this is what I want to do.
Yeah. It's like you had this tiny little cockroach or something that was underneath your skin, and it was like, oh, yeah, travel, that sounds good. And then you know how, like, those in movies, it, like, morphs into a fucking gigantic, like, man-eating creature bug, and that's, like, kind of what I felt like our travel bug became after that New Zealand and Australia.
That's such a...
It's true though. It's like
I see it more as like a fire in my belly that all of a sudden all this coal, which was like ideas fueled it, and just like light the fucking fires, and all of a sudden I'm just like
it's like the bows of the Titanic.
The Titanic.
It's the like bows of the Titanic where they're just shoveling in
exactly.
coal.
And they're just like full steam ahead. And it's just being fueled with ideas and thoughts and plans. And I'm just like, fuck yeah, let's do this.
Yeah, totally.
So I just wanted to basically, because when we went to Australia, because I have a lot of family still there, I'd have to say like 95% of my family is still there.
Yeah.
And so we spent a lot of time just visiting and staying with family, which, is awesome. It's super fun. It's great. But once we got to New Zealand and we were just like 100% on our own, and we rented a camper van and just drove around the entire South Island, and I was like, shit, that was sick. We should do that. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily with the camper van, but just travel.
It was like the freedom of it. The fact that we had a vehicle that let us roam freely.
And you were just free to go.
Oh, it was just like go anywhere
be back here
you want.
In 10 days or whatever it was.
Yeah, just make sure you turn the car in and then get your flight out. But we were like,
yeah, let's go.
Where do we go? Like, It was pretty cool.
I think that it was short-lived too, but I mean,
it was only 8 days, but it was like
but we crammed them full of
we did.
It was so much
skydive, fjord lands, jet
disc golf in
boats,
Queenstown. We did glaciers.
Drunken night at the Buffalo Club.
Yeah, I mean, it was full on.
It was awesome.
So yeah, I think the whole trip in general was just like a big eye opener of like, well, that only costs it. Plus, we did it on a budget. We're not staying in hotels. No. We're not, on some fucking cruise ship spending, $5,000 in 10 days or whatever. It's like we rented this thing on a budget.
Camper van, yeah, and put our sleeping bags in the back. And
I mean, there's cheap ways of doing things, and we know it's possible. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be tough. And, it's a lot tougher versus like, let's just pay for a hotel room and we'll just, it's like, well, let's really sniff out the deals and how to do things on a budget. And that just sounded more appealing to me anyway. Mm-hmm. So.
But when it came to the skydiving, we were like, yeah, I'll fork over another couple hundred to like go
or like
4,000 more feet.
Where like, I have to say, when we did a part of Europe, it was like we really ate. Like the food that was donated or like the food that was about to go bad at the grocery, so it's discounted.
It was.
If you did that for like 6 days out of the week and then 1 day out of that week, you could go out and do like a fucking sweet dinner. So worth it.
Mm-hmm. Like ramen noodles for
because I mean, you can't go to like Italy and not go to like that pizza place or like that pasta place.
Yeah.
Southeast Asia is a bit different. You're definitely...
You're spending like $1 on a meal.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, it's cheap there anyway. I mean, there's certain things, like there was a couple sushi places we went to in Bangkok where it was like, U.S. prices, but like you gotta spoil yourself every now and then or you're just, it's just about balance.
I feel like we totally went off topic.
Yeah.
But yeah.
We'll get back to, so basically that trip was just a big eye-opener and really made me want to plan out just a big world trip versus, once a year spending 2 to 4 weeks going to one place. Mm-hmm. I would have rather, which is what we did, was save for like 5 years and just put everything into a fund and just save hardcore. And then just fly to one place and then slowly bounce around and versus, flight. Just do one flight to somewhere.
Yeah.
And then just make our way as cheap as possible and see as much as we can see. So. Yeah,
totally. And I think what did it for me was once we got back from that trip and started putting that money away to see how it kept growing. I didn't know if it was possible. I was like, okay, whatever, that'd be cool, a world trip, and sure. And then when I started seeing it start to accumulate, and I was like, holy shit, I think this is going to happen. Like, let's start getting serious really about this. Yeah.
The more we researched, the more it seemed like a possibility. It's like, fuck the suitcase, pack a bag.
Yeah.
No hotels. We're doing hostels or Airbnbs or couch surfing or like, whatever. And it just became more and more of like a possible reality that we could do, and we did it. So.
Yeah, once we set a date and we're like, okay, all right. And then I think once we bought the tickets, I was like, oh shit, this is happening.
Yeah.
So that was cool. Anyways, go ahead.
Okay, so Where am I? We're on question 5. What? Okay, so the most challenging travel moment. Where were you and what happened?
I'm just going through the catalog. Hold on.
You have the Rolodex of memories.
Yeah. I would say it would have to be...
Just the hardest travel moment.
It's hard to take it down to one moment in particular. I think that I'll just put it out there as far as it being the most challenging overall, I think was us.
That was hard.
It was so hard. Like, I really...
The ultimate test.
It was completely the ultimate test of us as a couple. And I think that, it forced us to really look at the way that we were. And so, I mean, we weren't the perfect couple. We had our issues going into this trip.
Yeah, we had a bit of a bumpy path.
A bit of a bumpy road.
We do have a bit of a bumpy path.
We do, yeah. But I think that when you travel with somebody, it just magnifies that bumpy past. And if you haven't dealt with those issues, it just like brings them all to the surface and forces you to deal with it.
Totally.
So it's like whatever we were hiding or tucking away here or there and not really dealing with, it come out. Oh, it came out. It come out good. It was fucking crazy. So yeah, I think that just dealing with us as a couple and how we behaved with one another and our patience and our communication and working together. And I think that dealing with those past issues it was huge, because I know that both of us weren't dealing with them, and then it would just come out in anger towards one another. So we got into a lot of fights, a lot. And there was, once we had been traveling a year and we got down to South Africa, and I think we had one of those blowout fights where we were just like, yo, something's got to stop. Like, something's got to be dealt with, because this is not healthy, and we're going down a road that we, might not be able to bounce back from. And so I think that once we decided to take a little bit of a breather from each other, and we took a month that we spent apart.
36 long days.
Yeah. It was kind of that ultimate test, I feel like. And it just forced you to look at how much, we meant to each other, but then also that we are individuals. We can accomplish what we need to on our own, but it also kind of just shined the light on what you really cherished about the other person. Or at least it did for me. And kind of forced me to look at how I was behaving big time.
Yeah.
And also how you were behaving. And, did I want to put myself through it more? Or is there going to be a change? Or, what's going to come from this? And so it was definitely an eye-opener of, okay, can we do this? And we did.
So the most challenging part was just the whole trip.
It was the whole trip, but I would say the relationship part of it, because I feel like I can adapt pretty well with traveling. And I felt like I was okay with that. But because there was, the struggles with us, I was, having even a harder go at it, because I was hard, like, I don't know if I can put up with this shit anymore,
Same.
So yeah. It's a test. But yeah, that was, I think, truly the most difficult. And honestly, it's anybody who travels with anybody for that long, you're going to be
your best friend in the world.
Oh, and you've been like with each other for 30 years. But it's like, if you go travel 24/7 with one another, there's going to be for that long, you're going to...
Just a matter of time.
Exactly. So, and like we said before, I think, on a past podcast, we did not come across many other people who did the same thing.
But when we did, it's like they totally knew what we were talking about.
It was like a connection.
And they were like, I feel like I've been wanting to talk to someone else about the struggles and the hardships and the fights.
Yeah,
and
they're like, oh my God.
No one else even knows.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
And they just needed to, it's almost like connect with you on that level for justification and acknowledgement for yes, it is. You understand, right? And
we're not the only ones going through it.
Tough. And
it was crazy.
Yeah.
But I would say that was probably the most challenging part about it. Even though it was like it was the number one thing that needed to happen.
We needed that.
We needed it so bad. But yeah, it was good.
Nice.
Let's see. So, what did you... This is funny. So, I said, if you haven't asked this question already, and this is when I didn't know what your questions were, what did you do a year and a half ago with yours truly that ended in November? And give us just a brief overview. But I think we've already talked about it so much, it's kind of like, yeah, you kind of know what we did.
Have we brought this on the podcast, though, about, like, a general, like, Cliff Note overview of what happened?
I don't think we did. So if you want to do our whole, like, in a nutshell, when people ask us, oh, what were your travels? What have you done? Where have you gone? What have you seen?
Before you get, like, a sentence or two deep, and then they talk about themselves or, like, ask you a different question.
Their eye goes cross-eyed to one, and you're like, what? Okay, are you listening to me? Okay, well... Anyways.
So basically, which has happened a lot, more so than not, which is why I say that.
It makes sense, yes. I mean, in a way, it's really a hard thing to talk about to people because I think that, and I don't want to just be like tooting my own horn, but
yeah, totally.
This is an experience I feel like not a lot of people get to do.
And that people just generally have a hard time understanding. You can't even, like, I have a hard time, describing this to myself, and I was there.
Totally.
Like, it's hard to just put into words the depth of, like, life-changing events and...
situations, struggles.
Yeah, that happen.
Craziness. To me, I still have moments that flash in front of my face of things that we did, and it feels like a dream. I have to question it. I'm like, did that happen?
Crazy.
Yeah.
And,
but I feel like you either get one reaction or another, and there are like these two different reactions that you can get from people when they hear about what you did, and either they get quiet and I feel like slightly envious and don't want to hear it, or they get wide-eyed and they are fascinated and they're like, what did you do? That's amazing. But then they leave it at that because they're like, don't tell me everything, I don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
they're
so
just like, oh, that's cool. And you're like, you have no idea, like, the level.
No, you can't explain it.
Growth and all that shit, struggle and all that you've gone through. Because you can't just break that down into like a sentence or two response.
No, and so I think that when we have been asked that, we did kind of formulate this very brief, maybe 2-minute answer.
Yeah, because I think initially we would start with like, oh, we've been, this is our plan, this is what we're doing, and we'd get, we'd list off like, oh, we went to Paris, and then we went to blah, 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 and sometimes we wouldn't even
Camino,
get through
and then we did
France, and they'd interrupt with, oh, I love that place, oh, I remember when I was blah, 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 and you're just like, okay, well, did you want to know about it?
Did you want to hear about it?
Then we started just... shortening it up by like, well, we went to France, we went to Spain.
Yeah.
But, and even then it was like they'd interrupt you before you even got,
a few countries too detailed,
deep. And so then we were just like, all right, so we were spending, we just went a month around the world. And then if they would ask more, you'd kind of like get a little deeper.
A month around the world.
Oh, is that what I said?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, given the time during our travels, we might have been like a month in or something.
Yeah. But the more and more that you do and the more you've seen, it's like you really kind of have to make a Cliff Notes. Yeah. So you have to be like, all right, we were in Europe for 5 months. We were in Asia for 5 months. We were in... So it was like, so let's give...
And then, given the person or whatever, they would respond to that with like, oh, well, where did you go in Asia? Or... oh, what did you think about blah, blah, blah? Or some people would say, well, where was your favorite country? Which was a popular one. Yeah. But yeah, it was all just really, we just had to definitely shorten it up and Cliff Note to Cliff Note. To basically put in a nutshell, we spent 18 and a half months backpacking around the world. We basically got a one-way ticket to Europe, flying into Paris. And we were around Europe for about 5 months or so, until we flew into Bangkok and spent roughly 4.5 crazy months in Southeast Asia, sweating our ass off, living cheap.
Yeah.
And we made our way down into Australia, where we spent an amazing 2 months traveling around there. And then from there, we hopped over to Africa for about a month. And then we came full circle, making our way back into Europe again for the remaining about 5 months till we came back. And it was the most life-changing experience that'll stay with me forever. And I still think about every day to this day.
Mm-hmm. No avoiding it.
Yeah,
Just keeps
so that's
popping up into the
every single day.
The memory bank keeps
Every
opening
day.
up slowly.
So that was the general overview of what we did.
Mm-hmm.
So I have one that, since we're halfway through, that's not that deep of a question.
Mm-hmm.
But which country's flag is your favorite? Because I'm big on flags. I know you are too, as I am with like maps and stuff. And everyone's got a different flag. Some are cool, some are blah.
Yeah.
So which one's your favorite, whether you've been there or not?
Okay, so out of the flags, I think the one that stands out as like the prettiest, or the one that kind of draws my attention, the one that I like the most, is Seychelles.
Same.
Seychelles. It's just pretty and
it's a small little island.
Yeah, and we haven't been there, but it's like the flag makes me want to go.
Yeah, it's just to like get the patch and put it on your bag, just to say you've been there.
Well, yeah, but it's.
I mean, it looks beautiful too.
Oh my God, yeah, it's a really pretty flag. It's got just a burst of it's like sun rays, and they're all different colors.
Yeah, it looks like a sunrise or possibly sunset.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
With just rays that are like rainbow colors.
Yeah. But I think the place that we have been, or the two places that we have been that whose flag I like the most are Ireland is one. I just like the color combo.
Yeah.
Green, white, orange. I like those colors.
Yeah.
And then...
Does it have any sort of like bias with you with having like roots there?
Yes, I think it does. Yeah. So yeah, my Irish roots are calling me back through the colors of that flag. But no, I would say that, and then I think South Africa was another flag.
Yeah.
It's just really cool.
Cool flag.
I like it a lot. I like the colors. And yeah, it's a pretty one.
Cool.
Yeah. So that was a good question.
Nice.
Yeah. So for you, what were some of the biggest challenges that you faced while traveling, and how did they help you grow as a person?
That was similar to like...
Yeah, it's kind of what we talked about.
I guess I can cover being away from family. That was definitely a big struggle.
That was huge.
You know, and we knew we were going to miss a lot of things, but some things are unexpected. You know, like we missed a couple weddings, but then there's things you don't expect, like my last remaining grandparent, my grandma, had passed away. That was unexpected. You know, I know you had a dog that had passed away.
Yeah.
And then there's the expected things that are, you know, hard, which is like birthdays or holidays. Mm-hmm. And, you know, you see posts and stuff about family together during the holidays, and you're just away, and and you're kind of homesick anyway because it's been a while. And it's definitely a challenge, and it's hard. But a lot of like help, or what made it easier, I guess, was being there with you. Because even though you were doing struggling with similar things, if not the same things, at least we were there as a team, as a relationship couple partner.
Yeah.
So that made it easier for sure.
Is that what you call me when people ask?
My relationship partner?
My relationship couple partner.
Yeah. My RCP. But yeah, and then, like you were saying, being with anyone 24/7 is just inevitably at some point going to present challenges and confrontation that might not go so smoothly.
Yeah.
And, just add in the elements of being tired from lack of sleep, or hungry, or miserable, exhausted, being sick of just sweating uncontrollably for months on end.
Being physically
every
sick.
single day.
Yeah.
Like in Southeast Asia, if you feel ill, like just sick, and or you're just sick of it all. Like you definitely have days where you're just fucking sick of traveling and just the lifestyle, because it's fucking hard.
It is. You're constantly changing. There's like not one routine to hold on to.
Yeah, it's like sometimes you just want a day of structure, and downtime, it's definitely challenging for yourself and the other person.
Yeah.
But as far as the physical aspect of it, I would have to say the Camino. Mm-hmm. Most specifically, the Portuguese route. The first Camino we did, the French way, I didn't find as physically challenging. I mean, I was definitely put to the test. And, I had days where my feet were just, like we had mentioned, felt like they were going to explode. Mm. But, I mean, I really only had, one blister that whole way, and it wasn't that bad. And I'd seen other people's physical state, and I was like, how are you still going?
Yeah, totally.
And, but I guess this is going to be a spoiler alert, I guess.
Wow.
But, on the Portuguese route.
Spoiler alert.
Why, I found that one when we kind of full circled and came back to Portugal, and we did that route. My knees had blown out on day one. Mm-hmm. And it had poured. I got soaked to the bone. I had Gore-Tex shoes. It didn't matter. And my knees had just blown out, and I could hardly walk. It had a similar thing on the second day. I felt a bit better after resting. There was a lot of road that day, too. It was a long day. It had poured all day. And I just broke down to the point of... I remember getting to the end of the line and just feeling like I was on the verge of dying. It was so hard.
Yeah.
To where, I felt just depleted to my core. Deep within myself. I just had nothing left.
You were going to quit.
I was like, fuck it, I'm out.
Yeah,
and I was so excited the first day. It was the morning, the day before. And I was so excited. I remember taking photos, and I was just, smiling from ear to ear and all about it. And finally we're back and doing this thing that we love. And, come 2 days later, I'm just fucking out and done with it. Because I was just so depleted.
And this is saying a lot for someone who refused to take any form of transportation the first Camino. You are stubborn. And this, I'm saying it in the best way possible because I'm the exact same way. But you are very stubborn when it comes to challenging yourself and doing something like that, and how much we were looking forward to doing it. This is just a testament to how in pain you were, I think.
Yeah.
Because
I don't quit easily.
You do not
definitely,
quit.
I'll suffer through it. But this was I'm throwing in the fucking towel.
This was
I
huge.
am so done.
And
In 2 days, I got that. The level of pain to just take every step because my knees had blown out was fucking insane.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll leave what happened for when we get around to it on, Travel Tales with the podcast.
Yeah, let's just say I wasn't having it, though.
Yeah, you hadn't even started yet, and we're excited to start, and I was fucking done.
I'm like, no, you're not done. So,
but yeah, we can cover that once we get around to it on the timeline.
You'll have to wait to find out.
So, number 7, what country, generally speaking, would you say defines you as a person or resonates with your personality the most?
Shit.
Because every country has a different feel, has a different energy.
Yeah. God, I would say out of the places that we have traveled, I think the ones that felt like I connected the most with, no matter, how long we spent there, that just really resonated with me and where I felt kind of truly at home. And it might be a bias thing, but Ireland was one of those places where the way of life...
The Republic or Northern?
I would say the Republic.
The Republic.
For sure,
so.
yeah. Northern was its own little...
Because that's totally different there, too.
It's entirely different.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the Republic of Ireland, I would say, probably connected with me the most as far as the scenery, the feel, the weather, the people, just the all around attitude of Ireland. And yeah, there was something about it. And it could, like I'm saying, it might be a bias, and it could be those roots kind of calling me back, or being like, this is where your people came from.
But I feel like that too myself personally, and I'm not from there. It's just something about that place. Oh yeah, I know.
Yeah, I mean, no, I don't think they are.
No, pretty fucking German through and through for
Europeans
generations.
Europe's a pretty big melting pot, though. So
Yeah.
you never know. It's all very close connected. So.
But it's also different too.
It is. No, completely. I'm just saying that it's very geographically.
Right.
It's all very close together.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say probably Ireland and Spain.
Spain.
Big time. It probably was because we were walking through it, and we spent probably the most amount of time there out of any of the countries that we went to. Scotland.
Yeah.
Was fun. And that, again, I think it's my roots. I love that weather. I mean, the overcasty, the put on a jacket and be comfortable.
And they just have a wardrobe over there that's so unique to there, but it looks fucking comfy and cozy. And it looks cool.
The tweed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All that tweed and the colors and stuff they use, which is
it's so
it
earthy.
just complements the area too.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I get it, man.
Yeah, the way of life is just, it seems very
our style.
Yeah.
Your style, my style.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I love it there.
So yeah, those would be my places.
Cool.
I think. Let's see. I'm gonna ask what people do ask or tend to ask very frequently, but top 5 and why.
Top 5 places?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well...
Or countries, I guess.
Yeah. That's what what were you saying in the first place? That's what I thought you meant.
You said places. I was just specifying countries.
Oh, versus like a city or something. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I guess just generally, Spain is definitely on there. I think just the lifestyle, the weather and environment, and, a big factor is just the Caminos. Mm-hmm. Another one is Ireland for a lot of the same reasons you just said, like the people, the landscape, the culture and history, and the chill factor lifestyle. Another one would be Italy. I don't know, I just feel like I covered a lot of ground in Italy. Mm-hmm. I definitely went to a ton of cities there, and it was just amazing. I like the language, the food's great, there's tons of places, there's so much history there too, and I just loved Italy. Again, the lifestyle too, it kind of had everything too as far as landscapes, it's not just, like you go to a tropical island and it's great, but it's just a tropical island.
Yeah.
Like this had cool coastal cities, it had cool inner cities, it has mountains, it's got forests.
Yeah.
It's got beaches, it's got everything. Mm-hmm. Australia is one for sure.
Definitely.
It's definitely one of those that it's got everything too, as well as it has like the best beaches I've ever seen to date.
Yeah.
Nothing surpassed it. It's got the best sunsets. Yeah. It wasn't even just like, this one beach that it had there was amazing. It's like all the beaches there are fucking phenomenal. Mm-hmm. They're clean. The sand is crisp. The water feels nice. They're not dirty and full of trash. And all the animals are different and, unique to that area. The people, I love Australia.
For sure.
And, as well as, for part of me's got that bias thing too, where I got a lot of family there. And my mom's from there. So that just adds that element of deeper, appreciation and connection. Man, I need like a runner-up too, because Portugal's in there as well for a lot of similar things as what we talked about on the podcast, because I just love it there too. But Vietnam is definitely in that list too.
Yeah.
I think too, coming from Cambodia, where it was just heavy. And with their history, and it just felt heavy. Mm-hmm. And then getting to Vietnam, and like the people were friendly. They went out of their way to talk to you just to talk to you. There wasn't like a hindering scam behind a curtain that was, their purpose below the surface sort of thing. Like they just wanted to practice English. Yeah. The food's great. Again, like we went from the south to the north and covered a lot of ground, and it was just beautiful. And the ease of travel, the openness to backpackers, and that was
totally
definitely on that list. So
awesome. Was that 5?
Yeah, that was actually 5 plus 1.
Okay. So 6.
I like a complimentary add 1 because it was funny too, because those were the 5 minus Portugal, but Portugal definitely needs to be on there as well.
It does, yeah.
You know, especially more so in hindsight and reflection that I just love Portugal, man.
Yeah.
And it's not even like the food. It's just the country and the people and... Because I'm not that the food's terrible, but there was nothing particular that I was like, oh man, Portugal's food is out of this world. But yeah.
But we also don't have fucking thousands of dollars to blow on really good food.
Right.
Because I'm sure if you did, you could probably find some amazing food there.
Yeah, we definitely budget 8.
Yeah.
But it's not that expensive either, but yeah.
That's true.
So I know you're big into photography.
Photography. What is this newfangled? What is this newfangled photography you're talking about?
You take your photography where? I don't even know where I'm going. What country would you consider to be the most photogenic? Or where did you enjoy taking photos the most?
Good God. Okay. I have a couple, actually, because I can't narrow...
Makes sense, yeah.
I cannot narrow that down to one.
They all have different things to offer.
Yeah. So, Ireland. It's just so photogenic.
It's picturesque.
And I would even say this to Northern Ireland as well. It is a very photogenic.
Yeah.
Yeah, very gorgeous. I mean, that's where they filmed Game of Thrones. So if that gives you any sense of the landscape and how insanely beautiful Northern Ireland is, it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Go up there if you can. Vietnam was just, it is so vibrant, as in not just if you're walking down the streets of like Hanoi, or if you're tucked away in a little rural village, like riding your bike. There are just so many gorgeous pockets anywhere you go.
Yeah, I mean,
you could just take photos.
Or rural.
Yeah,
I mean,
it doesn't
whether
matter.
You're inner city or out in the country.
It's so alive.
It sounds good.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah.
And then I would say Australia. Big time. Just like what you were talking about before, the beaches are pristine. You can walk out onto one and feel like you're the only person in the country.
One of the few places where you walk on the sand and it's so soft it squeaks.
It's squeaky sand. It's so
how
weird.
fine it is.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then you can get into the mountains, and they're like literally, they're called the Blue Mountains for a reason, because they look blue.
I think it's
from
all
a distance.
like the eucalyptus.
Yeah, it's like the color they give off, or it's aura. I don't know, it's crazy.
It's like the mist from the trees.
It is,
it's like the
gorgeous.
Scent that
man.
You can see if it's that condensed full of trees.
Yeah, and then you get into the middle of the country, and you're like, holy shit, I'm looking up at the clouds, and they look red. Because they're reflecting on...
The ground is so red, it reflects
how red
on
the
clouds.
sand is. It's insane. It's so cool. So, yeah, Australia, big time. And then also South Africa. Holy shit, man. I did not expect that place to be as pretty as it was.
Yeah.
But, again, it's like the landscapes. You can drive, an hour or so from Cape Town and be in this exquisite like wine country and see these phenomenal like huge mountains and then like get to
just
the
this
coast
vineyard
and
valley in between.
Yeah, it's there like I guess what I really like in a place is the just diversity of landscapes.
Yeah.
I think that's what I really like and look for in a place where I travel.
If it just has everything to offer.
Oh, man. Because, I mean...
It just covers all the bases.
Yeah. Because, like, culturally, I could say I really enjoy places like, say, Germany, like Berlin. Hi, Berlin. No, Berlin in general, like that is a really cool, culturally like significant place that has a great, or not great history, but like a really interesting history.
Right, it's fascinating.
But like you look around and it is the flattest, most like desolate feeling place I've ever been. Because there's nothing around.
But man, is it alive within.
Within it is definitely alive. But I think the connection with nature that I have, and when I travel to certain places, I need that diversity in landscapes for me to feel like a place is totally photogenic.
Yeah.
It's got to have nature that just pops.
Yeah.
So those are my top 4, I think.
Nice.
Yeah. Oh, God, I have to lump in Scotland and Spain. I didn't say Spain either. Fuck. Those 2, yeah, big time.
Runner-ups.
Yeah, and Portugal. Goddamn. Yeah, there's so many. I can't help it. There's just too many. Italy. Oh, fuck. No, I'm a photo freak, too. And so wherever I go, I'm just like, photo.
Yeah.
Snap.
It's just different styles and which one's better than the others. So, they're all great for their own specific reasons.
Yeah. But,
as far as being the most photogenic, just, naturally without, having to look for it, if you could just, walk down the street and be or, leave the hut or whatever you're staying in, just be I could just spend all day here taking photos.
I think if there's one place in particular, one city, though, the most photogenic city, what are you going to say?
I'm wondering if you're going to say the same thing.
Penang.
Penang?
Georgetown.
Oh, okay. I was going to say Edinburgh, but...
Oh. Yeah,
I don't know why that just popped into my... I think because you just said Scotland.
Oh, gotcha. No.
Man.
I'd say...
Because it's one of those places where the city feels like it hasn't really changed.
Yeah.
I mean, the shops and stuff obviously are a bit more up to date.
I guess it's just the layout of the city is
the layout
wow,
and the grimy old feel of it is this place is...
I love Edinburgh. It's good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say Georgetown, Penang, which is in Malaysia, is one of the most photogenic cities. And for a reason.
No, that's good.
That, I could just go on a whole episode about how photogenic that place is. Yeah, we probably will. But
we'll get
that's
there.
One of them. Okay, so anyways.
Cool.
That was a good question. So this is... for you, not saying that you should or have any regrets about any of the trip, but what are a couple things that you would do differently if you were given the chance to do it over or go back and do differently?
I don't know if I'd do anything different.
I guess what I could ask, and I don't know if I asked this before, what was the biggest lesson that you learned then?
The biggest lesson I learned.
Yeah.
It was about myself and us, really.
Yeah.
And, I don't know, there's a bunch of big lessons in totally different aspects.
Well, I guess what would be the most, the one that changed you the most?
I think it was just a big eye-opener in many different ways. Mm-hmm. I think it just really opened my eyes and took myself out of myself.
Yeah.
If that makes sense, you're
totally.
your own biggest critic, and sometimes you're so wrapped up in your own fucking head that you stand in your own way and disable yourself to grow and learn.
Yeah.
To where if you just put all the bullshit aside, because eventually it's got to give, and you just going for it, and you're really forced to see and reckon with yourself.
Totally.
For what you really are. It's like you're pushing yourself to different limits that you can't have when you're at home or somewhere comfortable. So I think one of the biggest lessons, me personally, as well as in this relationship. Mm-hmm. And then, there's obviously the lessons that, you learn about the world and how it's alright, so it's different too, if you just do a trip and go back home.
Yeah.
Versus you're going to a different country and staying long enough to kind of get the idea of the lifestyle of just certain countries, and then you go and do that to somewhere else. Mm-hmm. So you're learning all these things back to back to back, without, going home and decompressing and getting back into that routine. It's you're witnessing all these different lifestyles one after the other in a row for this long, to where you almost forget what life is back home because it's so long ago.
Yeah.
And I remember that once we did come home, that was the biggest culture shock of the whole trip. Just the life. It's I knew what it was and I remember what it was, but it felt foreign at that point because it had been so long. And I'd been part of and witnessed this other lifestyle for so long, as well as just a lifestyle of backpacking.
Yeah.
And then just being a part of every country's lifestyle, because we got to the point of shopping with the locals and, living out of hostels or living with Airbnbs and with the locals.
Yeah, totally. And I hear some of you saying, 1.5 years? Well, that's not that long. But what I'm going to reinforce in your brain is think about a trip that you took for, maybe say a week or a couple weeks. And because you pack so much into that amount of time, it almost makes it feel longer.
Yeah, it's it's life-changing.
It is. Well, I mean, it's just so go, 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 go. And so you're constantly doing stuff. And you could say, oh, that was only like a couple days. That felt like a month ago.
That's how this trip felt.
That's how this trip felt. It literally felt like years of our lives. And it was a year and a half. That's a pretty long time. I would say we need to how they have dog years. 1 year is
it's
equal to 7.
Amplified.
This needs to be. They need to have travel years or backpacking years.
Yeah,
where it's
it's not normal time.
It's not normal time.
Especially if you're just going to different time zones all the time,
totally.
And switching, and you just went back in time.
Yeah.
Crossing from Australia to Africa. You're just leaping into different time zones.
You are a time traveler.
And then too, if you've done a road trip where it's been a week, 2 weeks, and you're like, oh, I just can't wait to get home and shower and sleep in my own bed.
Right.
We had that shit too, but on a
we
whole
didn't have
different
the choice.
level. I was like, no, you keep going, and you're still going to be sleeping not the best, and showering in flip-flops every day where that feels comfortable.
Yeah.
Or just normal, not comfortable, but just the norm.
We kind of got used to it, though.
Totally.
It was,
and it's just all those different factors piled on top of each other was the biggest lessons.
Yeah.
Was just learning about. It's almost like you see how the world operates in different ways. Mm-hmm. How just typical American society and culture is just fucking fast paced, and any free time is just you fill with more work. Where generally speaking, European culture is very enjoy your fucking life, take a fucking break.
Yeah.
You're not living unless you fucking step back and smell the roses, sort of thing.
Right, totally.
As well as a lot of the world too. It's American culture is so it just
specifically North American.
Yeah,
not
right.
Canada, but the
I've
United
never been
States.
to Canada, but I've heard good things. I'd like to go. But just the U.S.
We're from the U.S. if you haven't figured that out already.
But that'd be the biggest lessons. Was just myself, whether it be individually or us as a couple. Those were the definite biggest lessons.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like all around you changed.
Yeah, for sure. It was. I mean, how can you not?
No.
Okay. So since so much about travel is revolved around food, because you gotta eat, you gotta do it all the time, every day. What would you say your ultimate 3-course meal would be? Such as one an appetizer, a main dish, and a dessert.
So this is going to be all over the board, but...
And I'm hungry as it is now.
I am too.
Where this is just going to...
I know, this is going to fuel it. I already feel the saliva filling up in my mouth. Okay, so the first course will be a tapas from Spain.
What are they?
The one in particular that I'm thinking of, just because I'm a pickle freak, is the speared pickles with the fresh tuna and an olive and an onion. And maybe a pepper on there, served on a little thing of bread. And that, I would get that.
A crostini little sliver.
That was, my favorite on the Camino, is just to, pop that thing in my mouth, have a nice cold beer, sangria.
There's so much flavor in the tapas over
my
there.
God.
It's this little...
And it's simplistic.
Delicacy sort of treat.
Oh, my God, it's so good.
Oh,
so there's that. And then for my main course, I would have a Sunday roast. In England.
Did not expect that.
No, that's totally my main course.
All right. Cover what that entails.
Totally. Well, I guess, okay, so maybe, can there be a second appetizer?
Okay. Yeah, what's...
Okay, so...
Fuck it, what's a runner-up?
Okay, so the first would be that tapas, and then the second would be kapau. Kapau from Thailand, which is it's a main dish, but it's, definitely smaller than a Sunday roast, so that's why I'm putting it first. But it's a piece of rice.
It's
pizza. It's one grain of rice. No, it's a little, small mound of rice with a minced kind of definitely marinated and flavored and spiced, minced kind of meat with, it's either, I think it's like chicken.
I think it's chicken.
Mostly. But you can get pork or beef.
Yeah.
And it's spicy because it's got those red chilies in it. And then they fry an egg and put that on top. And you cover it in fish oil. It's so fucking tasty.
Yeah.
All of it together. So that would be my runner-up. And then the Sunday roast, which is basically a mash of some sort. It could be like sweet potato or just potato. Roasted vegetables. Yorkshire pudding.
Which isn't what you would think pudding is.
No, it's like, if you've had it's like a pastry.
Pudding.
No, it's like a pastry, kind of, but more like a
fluffy.
It's like a scone, kind of like a scone, but not what Europe thinks scones are. It's what U.S. thinks scones are.
Yeah.
It's so
like
confusing.
in the shape of like a yarmulke or something.
Yeah, it's like a little bowl-ish pastry thing.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that, and then a meat of some sort, which I picked like lamb. Yeah, like a roast. A roasted meat with, so I got lamb and mint jelly. And you combine it all together, and a gravy, and you combine it all together on one plate, and it's probably one of the most amazing things I've eaten.
Nice. So what's for dessert?
For dessert is a lemon gelato from
that's good.
Cinque Terre.
Yeah.
Because they're known for their lemon.
Yeah.
And gelato.
Limoncellos.
Yeah. Oh, limoncellos.
I thought it was going to be like
So
mango
good.
sticky rice.
That's good,
up there,
but
too,
I don't know. I think if I want
It's a hit
something...
or miss thing, but I've definitely had somewhere I'm like, this one
Right,
here.
yeah. But if I want a true lemon gelato, that it has to be from the source.
Especially now that it's like springtime, it just sounds good anyway.
Yeah, nothing's compared.
Nice.
That's my main... That was a good...
Yeah.
Yes. Let's go get food. We only have a question left. So what was your most memorable or aha or life-changing moment on the travels?
Like an aha, like just a wow. It's just a wow moment.
One of those that like shakes you at your core.
Shakes you at your core.
And you're just like, holy shit.
Honestly, it was, I mean, the Camino in general had them because there's no distractions. You're just like, you're inside. It's like an inner Camino.
Yeah.
An inner journey.
Yeah.
I want to say a big one was when I did that night hike. And I was having those like, or just like a rush of, almost like that outer body experience where I was just like really aware of what I was doing. Who I am and why I am who I am. And it's like I had all the puzzle pieces, but I simultaneously put them all together at once, and it all just fucking made sense.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like.
That's cool.
It's like I want to say it like deeper to make more sense or to be more clear.
You can say there are no words.
Yeah, there really aren't. Yeah, those moments on the Camino, which is why it was ranked so high. Something that happened on the trip that was one of the biggest things.
Totally.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right, final question for you. So this is going to be a simple question, I think.
Okay.
But it may be difficult to answer.
Oh, okay. Shit.
Or to put into words.
I'm ready. Hit me.
But why travel? Or why is traveling important to you? Why do it?
For me, it's important to me because it's constantly expanding my mind in a way that forces me to look at the outside world, but then also forces me to look at myself and who I am as a person and grow in a way that I don't feel like I can get when I'm in one place being stationary, doing the same thing day in, day out.
It's like you're disabled to grow in that routine.
I mean,
or it's hard.
You
know?
can,
it's
but
more
I think it's a
difficult, for sure.
lot harder to do. So I think for me personally, I choose to travel because it really does kind of kicks it into gear, a higher gear that you're like, oh,
you're like
shit,
forced to.
I have to do this.
Yeah.
You know, I have to look at this part of myself that I was not able to look at before because I wasn't put into this situation. And then to connect with other people on a level that you can't connect with them when you're not going and experiencing their culture is huge for me. Because it teaches you compassion and empathy and forces you to look at that there are so many different people everywhere in the world just doing the exact same thing that everyone else is doing.
Right.
But we have these veils like cast upon us that our society chooses for us to see or not to see, or are just capable of experiencing, that we close ourselves off from the rest of the world. We think of it as being so separate. We think of them as being so different, and we're scared. Like, a lot of people are scared to go out there, scared to venture out there, because it is kind of it's made out to be a scary thing. The world is made out to be a scary place.
Right.
But it's not. And so I think that for me, getting out there and seeing it really allowed me to see that it's not a scary place, and that it is, most people are just doing the same shit that we're doing.
Yeah.
They just want to provide for themselves, their family, be happy, live a good life.
Right.
And so I think that if everybody could get out there and see it, oh, I got a message. If everybody could, oh, I got another one. If everybody could get out there and see it for themselves, then I feel like it would make the world a better place, really. Or it would force people to, I think, choose a different lens to look at life with.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Oh, shit. Okay, so that was my last question, or your last question. I have one little follow-up question, if you're cool with answering it.
Well, this is your number 10, right?
Oh, yeah, sorry. My number 10. What upcoming plans are you the most excited about?
Upcoming plans, which at the time when we wrote these questions was way off in the distance, or in the future, and now
It's coming up about 2-3 months away.
Yeah, we're like 3 months out.
Not even.
Where this could be a big spoiler alert for certain people listening.
What?
No, I don't.
Did we tell anybody that we got our one-way tickets?
I told a couple people at work, but I have not told my superiors, and I'd like to keep it so for a little bit still.
Oh, okay. So we'll just cut that.
Anyway,
What are some future plans that you feel like you're really...
No, I don't care.
Oh, okay.
I mean, whatever.
Oh, alright, cool. Well, then it's out of the bag.
We've just recently purchased one-way tickets back to Europe.
Boop, boop.
And
Sorry, I'm excited.
so, what we plan on doing is we will be flying into Barcelona, just because that was a cheap hub and conveniently close to what we want to do right out the gate, or right at first, which is walk the north route of the Camino de Santiago, which is on the northern coast of Spain, on the border of France, all along the coast. Yeah, going through the Basque Country.
Yeah.
After that, we are going to rewalk the Portuguese route, but from Porto to Santiago. This will all involve family and or friends, which is just another, it's the word I'm looking for.
I don't know. We've been talking for so long. My brain's becoming mush.
And then after that, I think we plan on house sitting. Or no, wait, we want to travel for a bit first. Where we don't know what we plan on doing exactly, because we're just going to have accomplished 2 life-changing walks.
I want to go to Morocco.
We are thinking possibly Morocco.
Or India.
Or Turkey.
Or Eastern Europe.
Or Eastern Europe. Or
Southeast Asia.
Shut up, Isna. Or New Zealand.
I'm just saying, literally, we're leaving it so open and just to, fate.
We have general ideas of what we want to do, but really, if something else presents itself that tops the list of what else we have in mind currently, then we'll do that. But we want to do a bit of traveling after having done 2 walks, as of now. and then do some house sitting for a while and kind of try that lifestyle out.
Yeah.
And see where that takes us.
So we'll be traveling for an indefinite time again?
At least 6 months, but hopefully a year or more, or forever.
Well, I mean,
at least 6 months.
Say something that would be reassuring for the family.
Well, we'd come back.
Of course we would, but we just don't know how long we'll be gone for.
No,
okay.
But at least 6 months.
Yeah.
Is the plan.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's exciting.
That was our questionnaire episode. I hope you enjoyed it.
Wait, I have one more question.
Oh, you have another one?
Didn't you have your question?
No, that was 10.
Oh, okay. I have one more for you.
You just asked the last one. You don't get a bonus.
When did you realize you're such a goose? Everybody was wondering it. Somebody wrote that one in. They were like, oh my God.
Was it you? That's a good question.
Right? I've been dying to find that out.
I think just the level and like the aura and energy of you is just permeated through me throughout the years, because yours is so strong that it's just slowly been acquiring and developing. I have to say, as soon as we got together.
I do not accept that answer. All right. Well, that was our question episode, you guys. Thanks so much for tuning in.
We promise. I don't promise, because that's just there's pressure in that.
Yeah.
But we plan on getting back to Ireland next week.
Definitely. That is one of our favorite places, so we love talking about it. We just wanted you to know a little more about us.
As well as take somewhat of a break. And
for our mental status.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks, guys. We will see you next week.
All right. We'll talk to you later.
Over and out.
Bye-bye. Beans out.
Rock out with your beans out.
I've been out for a while. This shriveled bean's been out in the sun. I don't know.
If you liked what you heard, subscribe to our podcast.
If you feel inclined, leave us a comment or review, tell someone you know who might enjoy to have a listen, and feel free to share on your choice of social media.
If you want to know more about us or see any photos of our travels, you can check out our website at trailofbeans.com.
We also have a Facebook page where you can follow us on our upcoming adventures and get updates along the way, which can be found by searching @the Bean Trail.
We'll be back next week. Same beans,
same pod. Cast.